Dear friends, hello everyone, I'm again with you, the TheDeinekoArtem, and in today's video, we will have an overview of the new Minecraft in this snapshot. The new game rules is also added, mob spawners, improvement of the interface, and many other changes that we will talk about in today's video. Well, do not forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell if you did not. Well, we go to our complete view of the snapshot. So, dear friends, we go in order. The very first is the update of the requirements of OpenGL. Now, the OpenGL version should be installed in OpenGL, and not in OpenGL as it was before. The developers say that this change will not affect a large number of players at all, since the minimum requirement of Minecraft is already without. But in fact, computers that cannot be updated to the OpenGL version, I don't know what old, probably the 5th or 6th year should be. Next, we have changes in copper golems. We again changed the hitbox of the golems. Now the width of the hitbox of copper golem is 0 as many as 4,600 blocks, and this allows him to better pass through narrow spaces, including through one block. That is, here we have one block and he can calmly climb here. He used to have a hitbox, if I am not mistaken, 0 as many as 5,100th, and before that he had a hitbox 1 block and additionally like 100th in short. That's a small part. That's F3 plus B. Here we have a bridge. I have service metal. Well, here we see that he has a hitbox so perfectly fits right in 1 block. Well, even here he has a small space. Thanks to this, he crawls into 1 block. Everything is perfect. I hope the developers will not again change the hitbox of these copper golems, because this is the 3rd change, friends. And also now copper golems can open doors. Yes, friends. Look. Close the doors, it opens them. I took it right away and opened the doors. Here we close. Something does not want to go further. Well, let's open him. And he will go here now. And in short, friends, he can now calmly open the doors. And for example, if he sees some goal, open the door. If he sees a chest that he needs to go, for example, to shift and sort resources, he can calmly do this and open the doors. For example, here we have a copper block. Here we have pumpkin. Well, pumpkin. And in short, we can now watch how he will go. Here you see. It goes calmly. He opens the doors there and so on, and goes to this chest. Well, that is, we must give him a whale, and he is the most intelligent he see. He decided to just get out of here in general. We can put some resources here and here, so that he sorted resources from a conventional chest into copper chests and so on. And accordingly, he will calmly open the doors, go through some obstacles to 1 block. As I already told you this. And by the way, they changed such a bug. Previously, the copper golem could open the chests on which the block was located. Now, the developers have finally changed it. They could not fix it. As many as 4 snapshots. And now, for example, here we are if I put a golem. So, well, go. What kind of business? Here, the golem is here. And now he will not be able to open these chests. He looks at them. And now, you see, he approaches him, but he cannot open it in any way, because there is a block here. And before he could open it somehow, how it worked I do not know, but it was very strange that the copper golems opened the chests on which the block was located. Again, shelves. Guys, I think every snapshot is the 6th snapshot where the shelves are changed. You can write in the comments in general your opinion about these shelves, but I don't know. Too many bugs are different with these shelves, too many different jokes. In short, you can see now on your screen, as it was previously and as it is now. That is, now the heads on the shelves are displayed correctly. Others have also changed. Problems with the shelves: there is not the location, there's somewhere the pixel moved, somewhere 5 pixels moved, and now we have exactly, look at how directly under the ruler we have these heads of mobs. The player's head, the head of a skeleton, and so on. Again, you can see on the screen as it was before. Unevenly, one head is higher, the other below, and so on. I would actually make the texture of the sword slightly more than other objects that are in the shelf. Or on the contrary, make a little smaller texture of the blocks, because somehow it is, or I am some kind of perfectionist, or I am something here at all. Something I find fault with these shelves already. But it seems to me that somehow a sword, it almost does not fit into the size of several pixels of a conventional block. Or perfectly, I don't know, you can write in the comments. Maybe I'm really finding fault. Here it seems to be even. Here it seems to be. And here is unevenly, see? Chick. But here we do not have an additional pixel. But again, guys, I am such a perfectionist. Perhaps there is no problem at all. I came up with something for myself. Here. Oh, are you moving to the arrow? Well, wow. Look what we have. Master Genius, look. It moves to the arrow. We move on. Me too. At first it seemed strange. I reread the news for a long time. I could not understand at all. What is the very change in this lighting of entities? In short, now, as I said, we have added lighting of entities for mobs, players, and objects. And now they are better lit textures, blocks, and so on. This is noticeable on flat surfaces. For example, here on the chicken you see, her paws are now illuminated. They have become more bright and like that. Well, that is now, I don't know, they will probably be clearly visible to the tasks. I don't know why the developers did it. You can also see how the ribs used to look at this skeleton. Horses of the skeleton data. Here, you can now see on the screen, as it was before, what it looks now. Well, that is, here the lighting below is a little added. Also, if for example I will put on myself the elytra that I have now here behind, you see these stripes are shining a little bit of in short, a small change, for which these lighting are not clear, but as other people say, insiders and so on. This is done so that later, when already added built in shaders for Minecraft, so that it is all more detailed, so that there are no bugs, problems with shaders. It must be all cool. I don't know how it will be in practice. Let's see, of course. I hope that everything will really be wonderful. What else have I noticed? Now we have such a mix of texture. In short, guys, look, here we have a mine. I generally notice this by accident. And now we have such incomprehensible things. Look, I now have the night vision effect, night vision. If you do not have this effect, then everything will be calm, it looks normal. But when you go to the mine with night vision and, for example, leave a torch, you have such a kind of incomprehensible mix of the texture. That is, you see, here we have a white texture. Here, where we have a torch, it becomes so red. I do not think that this is some kind of problem or error in Minecraft. It seems to me that the developers specially made it in this snapshot, but it looks somehow strange. I think this relates us to the new shaders, which will be built in Minecraft precisely on Java Edition. Well, I don't know, we'll see, but here it's very clear this, you see. Here we just have ordinary white texture. But here, when I put the torch, the texture becomes such a kind of an incomprehensible red torch is removing from us. Everything is normal. As it was before, if I prescribe the effect of clear and I get the potions of night vision then. That's all. These mixed textures disappear, and accordingly our Minecraft becomes, as it was earlier, including the mine as well. Let's get back to the master. Then we switch the games. Now that you switch the regime from the observer to creative mode, your flight is not turned off. Previously the flight turned off. Now I'm in creative mode. I move to spectator. I continue to fly. I do not fall, as it was before, and I can now calmly switch between the speaker, and I'm not falling. This is cool. I don't know whether you noticed before, or did not notice that when you switched to the observer, or to the creative mode, you fell to Earth for some reason, but now it has been changed. But the flight will turn off only if we are within the same block from the surface. For example, if I add a little bit by literally here to 0 as much as 50, yes, block, so in short, straight. Well, he flew up to half a bit, then with us, if we switch to mode, for example, from the play to creative. From the creative to the play, then we will fall to the ground. Chance of the appearance of mobs in copper armor, they can appear both in the ordinary world, that is, I mean both in the mine and on the surface of your world. Well, in End or in Hell, you will not have a zombie. Previously, the chance of spavna here as such a zombie in copper armor was 9 as many as 5/10. Now 10 as many as 8700%. The chance is enlarged, I don't know why, and so there was a normal chance, and often a zombie in copper armor is often sparkled, but now we have even more a chance. Here we will go a little later to this change. Do not kill a resident. What have I done? And although he has a lot of HP, so he will not die. Yes, he has more than 100 CP there, so everything should be fine. That's it, we killed him. I wonder when this dynamite explodes, right? Interesting. He controls his gaze. Apparently, the flock controls the gaze. This dynamite controls the gaze. In short, interesting, super simply, we can look for resource packs and data paca using a slider. That is, using a search line. If we go to the settings, resource packs in here, we have such a line where we are now calmly finally. We can look for resource packs. Previously, I had a pack of 100 or 200 resource packs, and I had to look for all these resource spaces for a long time. And now I can simply prescribe, for example, the first letter of resource pack. And oh, please, I have resource packs, which, for example, are associated with food. If I want some other resource pack, I sign better and immediately see this resource pack better fire. Everything is super. We can search precisely by resource packs according to data packam. For example, if you are creating a new world, you have a lot of databases. You can also filter there. Make filtering, search using this line. This is very cool, and this was actually not enough in Minecraft. New sound settings. Some sliders in the sound settings menu now reproduce listening before listening to sound. For example, let's go to the settings of music and sound. Here we have sliders. We can use the pre-listening of sound when we configure something outside the world. I think this is convenient because we can immediately understand how the volume of music will change. Sounds, mobs, and encirclement, for example. You hear that now. I click the sound. It has become quieter, precisely the buttons. Now it has become louder. It also works with other buttons, for example, weather, but only weather. We have no rain or something like that now. In short, now we have a slight pre-listening of sound. Interesting, cool, but not very useful in fact. The new Gameru. This is already useful. Now we can turn off the spav knobs from Spavner. That is, for example, you find some kind of Spavner and some kind of mine. You can give me a green and noise vision, and I will teleport the mine. And now we are prescribing game rule.spawner blocks enable, and we can indicate both false and true. By default, we have indicated as true. That is, mobs can spava from these spavner. As soon as we indicate false, they will not sleep. That is all false. They will no longer spawn, although for some reason they have not been spawned now. What is our difficulty? We have the complexity of easy, right? Well, let's put true again now. And for example, we'll come somewhere here and see whether a mob will spawn or not sleep. Here you see, several spawners appeared at once. Well, in short, now we have spawners. They can both work, do not work. This all changes such a team. By the way, there is another spawner here. I did not even notice this. Third spawner, estimate. Oh, you see our zombies respond. If we prescribe the false team, then we have no more mobs from these spawners at all. And now you cannot turn it off there somehow through the server settings and so on. You can now calmly do this through Gameru. And you do not have to put, for example, a torch or break a spawner so that you do not fall asleep here. That's it, I prescribed this team. You see, the mobs will no longer spawn. No zombies, no spiders here, right? Yes, here the spiders are spawning. And here, in the third spavner, skeletons are no longer sparkled with us, if I am not mistaken. Oh, I even lost where this spavner is located. In general, I think this is understandable, and as for me, it is useful. Yes, it is very useful. Further, server management. In short, for those who control the servers, that is, own servers, sets them up, creates some plugins, and so on. Well, such serious improvements, I think. You should listen to it in order to then understand at all how it will be arranged. Due to the fact that in previous snapshots, if I am not mistaken, and look at the hint from above. There too, it was useful for those who control different servers. Now, our customer audit is available only through the server API and requires an authorization token. As I understand it, we can get this authorization token when creating. For example, you will need to write it or somewhere so as not to lose it because it will consist of 40 characters there. And perhaps this is not yet clear that there will probably be a symbolic key, and it will give up somewhere to set up a server, and accordingly, to manage Gray, you will need exactly the API key. Further support for TLS by default. This defense will be included, but it can be turned off, of course, in the settings of the server itself. For TLS, it will be necessary to specify the path to the storage file via keystore and set the password, respectively. This also increases such a server safety. It will be harder to hack. Earlier, the default server control port was 25585, if I am not mistaken. It seems to be yes. Now it is changed to 0. And in short, it will automatically look for a free port on which the server will be launched. That is, if for example you have 25585 by default launched by another process, then right? You will replace there, for example, there 25586. Here, I think this is understandable. By default, now we have 0 and automatically CR will look for a free port. The version of the data packs is changed to 87th. In particular, the rules of the game enable command blocks. This is what I just showed you. In this regard, we have changed the data pack, and the resource pack was also changed to the 69th version. This is due to the hitbox of copper golems and so on. Also, the shaders are updated to the OpenGL version, what I told you about at the beginning of this video. And we also have added a Fairface lighting flag for shaders, which will improve the calculation of lighting for shaders. There are some front or rear boundaries of objects, that is, this applies to this particular update, where we add lighting to mobs. And it's quite interesting, this is a debug of functions for those who create, for example, fashion or somehow controls entities. He needs to know there, for example, some information there. A hidden lining of a resident. Now we can turn it on. Watch how it is done. We must go to the official launcher of Minecraft here. We have an installation button and select the installation for which you play. That is, a version of Minecraft in my case that is a Dream at 20. 5 to it was 37. But here we click on 3 points to configure, and here there is a button where settings come here. And here we now have to prescribe the DMC debug enable true and MC debug ring true to gain access to these hidden functions of the debug for residents. If you do not indicate the properties here at the end of these JVM, then accordingly, you will not have a debug of functions. They are additional. Click on the save button. Now when we are a spavity of a resident, here's the following. We now have all the information about this resident. That is, This is the same lining function hidden by developers, and we can see all the information about the resident. So what is his name? Yes, each resident is given his own name. For example, this firefight is some kind of heart. This is generally for some reason without a name. Here, shard light. In short, we can see how much HP he has. Here, you see. He has 20 HP, how much expirem he has, that is, 0 experience. And see further additional functions. That is, for example, visible mobs. He has some, you see, data. He even has the coordinates on which he is. That is, if he stops now, you see, we have coordinates. Those who put it here, you see, in a player. What an even closest player near this mob, and all this complete information. This applies only to residents. Perhaps in the future they will open access for example, iron golems, for zombies and so on, but so far this concerns only the inhabitants. In short, such a huge Outram information now appears about the inhabitants themselves. And by the way, I do not advise you to use these JVM properties in your launcher of Minecraft when you go to some server, because we are now for a long time from the bridge they tried to fix this mistake. When I change it in my launcher properties, I go to Aider. Our server immediately crashes Minecraft. It was also with the world. When I created new worlds, in short, it somehow works once, so be careful with this. Careful. The official website also indicates that this is an extended function that should help the modders, but it should not be used in the ordinary world and on servers. Therefore, be careful so that your world does not die, so that your resources in the world are not lost either, and that your server continues to work. Better do not use it on servers. Dear friends, such a snapshot turned out. Of course, he is not without bugs, but I hope that the developers will still correct the JVM properties in the launcher, and it will not paint neither worlds nor server. Well, in short, let's see this in the future. I hope you liked this snapshot. If so, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Press the bell if you have not done this. I was with you, TheDeinekoArtem. My stays 48. Good luck, friends. All for now.